Hey guys, I decided to switch from my Pixel to my iPhone, and I'm going to tell you how that is. Hey, welcome back everyone. So look, let me just give you a little background on me real quick because I have been carrying an iPhone and a Pixel for a long time together, or at least an iPhone and one Android all my life pretty much. And Android has always been like my main device. Always, right? And every so often I do try to main an iPhone, but this time I did it in a different way. I realistically switched over to the iPhone and I wanted to see what it's like to use an iPhone without my Android around at all, or any of my Android stuff that I do have. So I carried my AirPods Pro 2, I carried my Apple Watch and my iPhone and my iPad and my Mac. Carried all three of those for a whole week. And I just want to give you that experience right now. I know switching over from Android to an iPhone or iPhone to an Android can be painful for a lot of people, you know, getting your messages, getting your contacts and getting everything, your apps and everything else, and just trying to transition over there to one ecosystem to another ecosystem. I understand that frustration, but we're not here to talk about that because I am a tech guy and I've been carrying both, and both phones have been set up for years, and I have no problem with crossing over the ecosystems or using devices and stuff like that. But the thing I'm here to talk about is my experience just using iOS by itself with no Android around, no nothing. And that's been a big change for me. And that's where we're here to kind of deep dive into. And when I say deep dive, I mean that I'm going to talk about my regular routine that I do on my Android device that I try to do on my iPhone, and give you a realistic kind of view of if it's possible, impossible, frustrating, or not frustrating, because a lot of people just want to just talk about what's better over here and what's better over there. But to be honest with you, in this experience, it's pretty much been exactly the same when I switch it over, but different. And when you switch over, there comes frustration, a lot of frustration, because you're trying to take that same device or that new device and make it like your old device and continue the same routines that you've been doing for so many years, months, or weeks. Who knows how long you had that device? But that's where the problem happens at. Because when you got that mindset, things get difficult. And I'm going to tell you how difficult that was for me. Since I got my Pixel 6, voice dictation has been like a big part of my life, and now I'm using the Pixel 7 Pro, and it's still a big part of my life, and I've been using it strong for 2 years. So when I switched over to the iPhone, it was a big frustration when I'm driving in my car, or I'm in a house, or I'm trying to respond or to a text message or anything, because my hands, you know, are tied up or whatever, or if I'm driving, because I do not like to text and drive. I like to go ahead and use my voice, and it's so great how the Pixel gets it right 99% of the time, or at least 98% of the time. But then on my iPhone, it was getting it way wrong, like a lot wrong than right. It was like down there in their 40 percentile, and I really didn't like that. It was a little frustration for me. So crossing over to voice dictation, and that's me, because again, this whole video is about me and how I use my device. It's not about how you and anybody else use their device. This is my day-to-day routine in my life, and I use voice dictation consistently in my life. You might not be a person, so this will not be a problem for you. One of the other biggest things that I really didn't like when I switched over was the typing experience on an iPhone. I don't really remember having a good typing experience on my Android phones, to be honest with you, until I received the Pixel. For some reason, the Pixel seems to be very good, very accurate. I tried multiple keyboards, you know, Swiftboard and all these other different keyboards, you know, when using Android all these years, but the typing experience has never been that great. And it's funny because I remember my typing experience being really good on iOS. For some reason, that is not the case in this situation. It's flip-flopped, because now my iPhone has the worst texting experience ever. My Samsung had a bad texting experience, but this Pixel, it really spoiled me. And me moving over, texting up there, and man, it's either I get dumb when I'm using my iPhone, or I just can't text, or is this really that bad? I don't really know, but the texting experience wasn't that great when I crossed over. So that's another frustration that I had. Ah man, notifications, woo. Notifications, look, do I need to even go deep down into these notifications. I really don't like iOS notifications. I really don't like how they handle it. Maybe I could just be used to Android and that's a biased thing, but at the same time, I've been using both for the same amount of time, and I never really liked iOS notifications, and they've gotten better, but they're just still quite not there and a little frustrating. So first thing I did is went into my phone and just turned everything off to show up on a lock screen so I can just have a clear lock screen, because I really hate how I got to clear it too, how you have to find the clear button and hold it and then hit clear all to clear them. And if you don't, you're going to be swiping, and if you don't see that clear all button, you got to swipe anyways. If there's a way to bring it up if you don't see the clear button, please somebody let me know. I haven't figured that out, but it's just a pain. So I just turned off all my notifications pretty much on that. Here's one of the biggest things that bothers me the most about my iPhone, right? Is, again, this goes back to me using it while I'm mobile in a car or just basic, just using it. I'm trying to make a phone call. Now, keep in mind, there's other ways to make a phone call. You can, have your buds in and talk to your buds and try to do it. But that's not my routine. That's not what I do, right? You might do that, but I don't. I like to just go to my dialer and just start typing the person's name in that I got in my contact. However, I put it in my contact and then it shows up. I could type like maybe AN for, Antonio, and then Antonio name will pop up and I could click it and it calls Antonio. Wow. On my iPhone, man, because they don't have T9 dialing, I literally have to go to my contacts, find Antonio, and then stroll down and look for him, and then hit it, and then hit another button to hit the call button, because all the messaging stuff pop up. So it's like so many extra steps, and forbid it ever happens, if I'm trying to do this in a car, I can run into something or get in an accident or something trying to do this if I end up losing focus. So I have to make that phone call before I actually pull off half of the time if I know I'm going to call somebody, or I have to literally wait till I get to a stoplight or something like that. But in Android, it's so much easier and it's faster that I can probably do that almost without looking. I really wish that Apple would adapt T9 dialing. I don't understand why they don't have it. Now, obviously somebody was like, you can add people to your favorites. I'm not adding every random person in my phone to my favorites, and I don't even think you can even add everyone. That's ridiculous. I don't want to have to always go to my contacts, because be honest with you, on Android, I never ever go into my contacts app at all whatsoever. I can just dial everybody from my dialer by just dialing their name, and that's it. iOS, I'm always in the contacts when I'm calling anybody that's not akin to me or, outside of the family, pretty much, because I got my immediate family and my favorites on both phones. So that's very frustrating to me. Now, I actually work with kids at my job, and I use a lot of timers. And on the first day that I went and I took my iPhone to work, I really noticed that, when a kid got in trouble, I had to sit him down in my office, and I put timers on. I always put timers on, but I always end up getting like multiple kids in my office a lot. So I put on multiple timers. Oh, I realized that the iOS clock app, or in the timer, that section, it doesn't have multiple timers. And I had to use my watch, I had to use my laptop, and I had to use my phone to set 3 different timers. And then I realized I could have probably used the computer and had a multiple timer app or something up there to do multiple timers. But that's a little frustrating, because on my Pixel, I can add as many timers as I want, and I have a whole list of timers set up between 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 7 minutes, or whatever time that I give them. So again, this is part of my life and my routine, and I didn't have that in there. So I had to find a workaround when I was using my iPhone. So it was kind of frustrating, because I was already used to doing it one way, and it was easy for me to do it on my Pixel or any Android phone for that matter. But yeah, that was a little bit frustrating, but my workaround is using multiple devices. But being that I made this video at this time, I'm already done. I did use multiple timers on my laptop, but sometimes I walk away from my laptop. It's better that my phone has it, because my phone goes off. My watch goes off and let me know that a timer's up, but I gotta sit in front of the computer and wait for the timers to be up. So the next thing I want to talk about is accessing the camera, quickly accessing that camera. We know from the lock screen, you can turn the iPhone on and slide, or you can hold the button down, then the camera pops up. That is fine, right? I have no real frustration with that at all. I don't like how you have to do that, but I have zero frustration with that. Now, On my Pixel phone, I can just double tap the power button, or let's just say any Android for that matter, right? I could just double tap the power button and it just opens up the camera on any Android phone. Okay, so cool, right? So if I'm in a app or social media app or whatever, and I needed to get a quick picture on my iPhone, I have to close the app and I have to go to my camera app wherever it is on my phone, or I have to turn the phone screen off to access it quickly from the lock screen. Android, I just got to double tap the power button. Even if I'm on Twitter, even if I'm on Instagram, even if I'm in any app, the McDonald's app or Chick-fil-A app, or trying to order me some food, all I got to do is tap that power button twice, camera, picture, click, click, ready to go. Extra steps with iOS, and it doesn't frustrate me when I know that I want to take a picture on my iPhone. When I'm premeditated and I know that I'm ready to take a picture, I'm already prepared to go through the steps. It's those moments where I'm trying to catch something really quick. It's where I always get frustrated and can't find my camera app, and I'm trying to catch something real quick. And I always end up double tapping my power button on my iPhone. So I just turn the screen on and off. It's so crazy, it's so frustrating. But on my Pixel, when those quick moments come, or any Android phone again, I double tap that power button, boom, and I can take the picture. So I got used to that. And using iPhone, it was a different step. I had to premeditate everything with that. Sometimes I can quickly catch stuff with my Pixel or my Android phone because I know that I could just double tap that power button. So that was another frustration for me. I want to bring up the wallpaper situation, how you can customize the lock screen and everything. When it comes to that, the iPhone actually trumps the Pixel when it comes to that. But I just want to say that it's a little bit frustrating on the iPhone because I be trying to set a lock screen picture and a picture from my home screen, and Apple kind of forces you to kind of like set both and create this collage first before you can just set one. And I'm not going to go deep down in this situation right here and try to say that it's really horrible. It's just, I don't want to do that all the time. On my Pixel, I can pick a picture, click set as, and then it says, do you want to set it as your home screen, your wallpaper, or your home screen and your wallpaper at the same time? And I just want to be done with it. And iOS makes me do all this extra customizations and stuff like that before I can actually set it. And then I can go back and just click it at that point and switch between them and stuff like that. I do appreciate that, but I don't want to do that all the time. I just want to set it. If there's an easy way to set it and I'm wrong, just let me know. I'm not sure. I tried it multiple times with the new iOS 16, I believe, when they introduced that, and it's just been really painful. So I just don't really change my wallpapers much on my iPhone because of that. Now, this one right here may be big for a lot of people. Messaging hasn't really been a big issue for me. One, I'm the type of iOS user, and I learned this a long time ago when I had an iPhone. I think it was like the iPhone 4S. I really love that phone, by the way. That was one of my favorite iPhones. That's why I love the new design of the square look that they got going on, because that was like my favorite design of the iPhones. But I learned real quick that when you use iMessage and you use your phone number, you have to disable it when you're switching phones. And I switched phones a lot. So I just started using iMessage as my email. I use my email, and I give my email to everyone to iMessage me on my email, so they can always iMessage me no matter what. Because if I take my SIM card out of my iPhone and put it into an Android phone, people can still iMessage me on my iPhone if I have Wi-Fi, or on my Mac or my iPad if I got my LTE card connected and all that stuff like that. So I can still get my iMessages from all of my friends. Okay, I don't have friends that use iMessage. I'm gonna be honest with you. It just sounded good. But people that I do talk to that has iMessage, they can still iMessage me with no issues and everything like that. Me and my family and friends, we mostly use Telegram for our messaging, so I'm okay with that. I don't care about what the other rest of the world messages themselves on. I don't really care because I'm not talking to the rest of the world. But my immediate family and friends, we're all on Telegram. So, and even if we're not on Telegram, nobody that I talk to cares about bubbles. So it's not even an issue when it comes to group chats or anything of that matter. They just don't care. We can have a whole green group chat. Everybody got different phones. We don't care. As long as like what we're talking about is going through to each other is what's really important to us. So messaging really hasn't been an issue when I switched over. So when I literally put my SIM card into my iPhone, immediately I'm just getting text messages from people, and people still hit me up on Telegram, and it's completely fine. I don't feel like I broke anybody's group chats, or I'm not even in any group chats. Again, I don't have friends. How you like? I message. But anyways, you know what I'm saying. So messaging wasn't really a big deal for me or whatever. I tried to tell a couple of friends, like, man, it might be smarter if you switch phones a lot to just use your iCloud as your iMessage when you set your phone up, and uncheck your phone number, so it won't be tied to it, and then therefore you can always receive your messages. And if you switch, you can still receive your messages without having any issues and stuff like that. So I think it's a smart move, and I've been doing it for over 10 years, probably longer than that. So it's just been a thing for me. So messaging, not really an issue. I'm going to say this real quick. I know living in the US, everyone has an iPhone. Like, it's popular here. There's no getting around that. There's no sugarcoating that. So one of the first things I did when I did set this iPhone up, I actually changed my ringtone and all of my tones, because you know how crazy it is when you go somewhere and just say you're in a line and a phone goes off and it's an iPhone, and then you thinking it's your iPhone because it has the same tone, and then the next person iPhone go off and it's the same tone, and the next person, you guys who use iPhones, you know, everyone keeps the default. It's crazy that everyone keeps the default on these phones today. And like iPhone, I mean, they do it on Android too, don't get me wrong. Like my mom and them, they don't even touch that stuff, right? My grandma's family, they don't even touch that stuff. Whatever the default is what they use. They don't ever change anything. My mom do sometimes ask me to change her ringtone to like a gospel song or something. I do that for her. But with that being said, everyone has the same tone. So immediately that's what I changed when I first, put my SIM card back into the phone. I never really had the phone on like a sound on my iPhone. All these years, I always keep it muted. So when I had to use it as a main phone, I needed to hear my ringtones, my text tones, and everything like that. Turned it on. I realized that everyone was having the same tone, so I changed it immediately. It was funny, whatever like that. But yeah, other than that, it's not a big deal. I just changed it because everyone else has it, because iPhones are popular here in the US. And my other frustration that I had using the iPhone is that I got my whole entire house set up with Google Nest products and hubs and stuff, and they just don't play too well with the phone. And I'm not referring to saying, hey, G word. I'm not going to say it because I don't want it to go out behind me. But, it's not the frustration of saying it. It's just like when I go to the app, my home app on my iPhone, and I want to turn on my bedroom lights and I click it. Just say the bedroom lights are on, because this is where it happens the most. When it's on, I have to click it. Then it's like the app recognizes that I'm trying to click it. And then I have to click it a second time, and then it'll turn the lights on and off. Now, obviously on my, my Galaxy phone or my Pixel phone, it works as it should. If the lights are on, I click it, it's going to turn the lights off. It's like on the I don't know if it's Google doing it, and I know some people are like, it's probably Google doing it, or if it's Apple doing it, trying to make the experience a little bit worse so you can use HomeKit, which makes sense because it's like competing, I guess. I guess because they don't really make those products like that besides the HomePod. But I don't know. I never bought a HomePod before, so I don't really know what that experience is like using HomeKit. So I'm not gonna really touch up on that. But I just feel like somewhere somebody is making it a little bit more frustrating. And my wife, she uses an iPhone, and that's her main phone, and she says this to me all the time with hers. So it's a real issue. It happens with my iPad too as well. But is it a big frustration for me? No, because to be honest with you, 90% of the time I just talk to Google, because I got the hubs and nests everywhere. So I just pretty much use my voice half the time. But sometimes, and I ain't gonna lie, Google can be dumb sometimes. So when she get it wrong, I gotta pick up the phone, then I gotta go like that and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, why she just couldn't do that in the first place? Because for some reason she think that white, when I say white, she think that mean turn off. I'd be like, turn the light white, and it actually turns the light off. I was like, I don't even know how that even sound like that. So, but yeah, Google can be dumb too. All right, let's get to the conclusion of this, right? Because I know it seems like I had a lot of things to say that was bad about the iPhone experience, but no, it's not really bad. It's just a transition, right? It's like things that you do over here, you're trying to do them over here, but it's just a different way to do it. And it may be workarounds over here and workarounds over here, just give or take with the OSs. And I just want to say that besides those little frustrations that I had after I found my routine, I had to build a new routine for my things, right? After I transitioned to a new routine, the iPhone became a normal phone. It became a normal thing. It felt normal. It felt like if I wasn't using my Pixel, then I can just use this with no problem. This is just how I have to use it. I have to use it this way because I can't use this the same way I'm using this, or use this the same way I'm using this. And I feel like a lot of people get into these fights and these battles with it, and there's a little frustration. It's a little frustrating, having people nitpick about things, because I just wanted to give you like a realistic experience that I've had when I crossed over, and not trying to make it seem like one is better than the other, but just wanted you to know, like, this is how I use my phone, and when I switched over, this is what I had to do. And I don't want to say that using the iPhone was a way worse experience, but I think if it was the opposite, if I was an iPhone person and then I moved over to the Pixel, and then I was used to how they do things, I might be a little overwhelmed by how easy things are on the Android side, or things that's missing, right? Because as you see in my last video, well, one of my videos with my wife, she was a little bit overwhelmed by all the bedtime features that the Android offered versus Apple kind of like just having, it does it for you. She said, I like that Apple does everything for you. Over here, she was like, this was too much. They were giving me too many options. I like the options, but it was overwhelming to her. So she preferred the Apple way of controlling it versus being not controlled. And that's what I'm getting at. I feel like some people are just okay with this. They're comfortable with this. This is what they know. This is what they're used to. And then when you get over here, it's like, it's overwhelming. It's too much. They don't want it. It's frustrating. I did it again, didn't I? So I understand the frustration between everyone when you're switching over and you're used to something. And I have to admit, like, I try to step out of my mind with this experiment that I did and not be like a tech guy, but just realistically coming at you as if I was a regular person. I can use my Pixel or my iPhone and make it through the day to do the same routine that I've done. It's just a different path of getting there. There may be a faster path, maybe an easier path. It may be a more frustrating path, or it may be a not more frustrating path. But either way, both actually do the exact same thing in the end, literally in the end. So when I'm saying that my experience was good using an iPhone, it was good. It wasn't really bad. It was just a little bit frustrating crossing over. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I am happy to be back using my Pixel. Anyways, Devon Digital, peace.